Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel and video number 8, the remake of this Designing an RC Airplane in Solidworks series. So the original number 8 and 9 videos for some reason did not record sound. I'm guessing probably because I accidentally muted my microphone and didn't realize it. So here I am. I've basically deleted everything that I did in videos 8 and 9 so I can come back and show you all what I did. So I believe in video 7 where we left off was this wing frontal master diagram, which basically the front view of the airplane, 3 views, or in this case, the dimensional data that I have from the engineering drawings. You would either draw if you have 3 views, you would draw your top and bottom planes or view of the wing to account for basically the top surface and the bottom surfaces. If you have engineering data like I do, you're going to want to sit there and go through and find whatever they use for the wing reference plane. If you don't have that information, this is where you can kind of begin to overlay photos where it matches like a preliminary size box, like what we did in the very first video number 1, and then just kind of start working it around. When it comes to scale details or scale competitions, typically your 3 views are what they're going to go by for your outline and everything, unless you have some sort of proof that the 3 view is inaccurate with a photo of some sort. So you want to make your airplane match the 3 view you're going to use as much as possible, because that is basically what you're being judged against, is your outline drawings. All right, so here on our wing master frontal diagram, basically I've got a horizontal line here drawn, so I could use that as the dihedral gauge for the wing construction reference plane. That reference plane is perpendicular to the wing ribs, but the wing ribs are not vertical in relation to the fuselage vertical center line. They're actually canted inboards at the top, because the wing is basically flat across the top. The dihedral is across the bottom surface of the wing. And then we have the 16-degree anhedral at the wing, at the outer wing panel, at the 188-inch location from the fuselage or the nacelle center line here. And then you can see here I have these angled lines. I believe I went over these. These are there's a point here along this line. That's the 249-inch wing station line. There's another one here at the end of it. That's a 258-inch theoretical wing station line, which would be the wingtip of the physical wing panel, or the very tip of the physical wing panel, if it wasn't chopped off for the actual wingtip. And then I did the same thing here for the 183-inch station on the wing, and then there's nothing here at the wing center, the root at the center line of the fuselage, because there's technically, in the sense of building a full-scale airplane, they don't have a rib here because the wing stops here and they have some structure that bolts the wing in. So now that we have that information done, what we need to do is we need to come up with the wing root at this fuselage center line location. So what I'm doing here is I'm just hitting the left arrow key to give me a little bit of a skewed view from the quartering left view. And then I'm going to come up here to the right plane, and I'm going to make a sketch on that plane. And then I'm going to use center line. So the little arrow here beside the line, select center line. And I want to make sure that the center line for the side view is coincident with the point that the dihedral and everything starts at the center line of the fuselage or the crew nacelle. So I'm going to do here, you see the little orange dot. It says, hey, we're coincident, as well as the yellow box with a circle and 3 lines through it. Do that. I want to make sure it's horizontal, which you can see with the yellow box with the horizontal line. We're going to click it. We're good there. Now, I know based off my documentation, the airplane has 4 degrees of dihedral. So since this point is going to be the trailing edge of the airfoil at the theoretical 0 station line, which is a fuselage center line, I'm just going to come up here, and I do not want an arc. Why it did that, I don't know. But hey, sometimes it does weird things. So I'm just going to highlight that and delete it and come back up, and we'll draw another center line here. There. Hit the exit key to get rid of it, and then we'll come to Smart Dimension. And we'll Smart Dimension here are 4 degrees of incidence. We also know that the trailing edge at the fuselage center line, I'm going to use the left key to get a full-on side view. You can also come up to the little box here with the view orientations and select the side view you want. So we do know that the wing station from the nose to the trailing edge of the wing, we know that dimension based off the reference data we have is 209.797 inches. So that gives us the trailing edge of the wing route at the theoretical 0 station of the fuselage on the center line. We also know that the leading edge is not going to go way out past the nose, so we're going to bring that back. And we're also going to smart dimension that one to where we know that the leading edge of this wing is at 79.797 inches from this 0 station of the fuselage, or the very nose of it. And what this does is this gives us our wing root location and incidence angle. And we also want to make sure that we verify that this plane here is exactly 14.3 inches below the crew nacelle reference plane, which is also the origin point runs right through that point. So here we can see we have our 14.3, which is perfect because we knew we set this line here on the front master diagram at 0 or at 14.3 inches below. So putting this coincident with that point, it's automatically there. So with that done, we can exit that one. We'll rename this the wing root location sketch. And we're there with that one, and we can save it. Next thing we want to do is we want to put in our reference planes for any wing rib stations that we have, because we need these in order to draw the actual airfoils for the wings to be lofted. So the first one we want to do in this case is I'm going to do this one right here, because the root, we don't need to do one because we have the right plane here that we can just use for the wing root, so we don't need to worry about putting another plane there. For this one, what we will do is we will select the front plane, then come to reference geometry, and then plane. We'll make that sure that one is perpendicular, and then we will select a line. In this case, will be this one. And if we use the left arrow, you can see we skew it to a quartering view. There's our plane. Click OK. There we go. All said and done. And this one we will rename to, back in my documentation here that I can't seem to remember, so we'll just reopen this sketch, and we can see that is the 183-inch wing station. So W station 183. Do that. We can hide it because we don't really need to look at it all this time. Do the exact same thing here. Come back up to our front plane, reference geometry, plane. We'll select the next one we want there. And then for the front plane, we want it to be perpendicular, which it automatically selected. And there we go. That one will be our wing station, I believe, 198. We can go back to our frontal master view, and we can see that, yes, that is 198. So we'll rename that one station 198. We can hide it. Find out what my dog is eating under my desk at my feet, and she just looks at me like I'm like, well, I'm not doing nothing. Gotta love puppies. All right, so we got those two done. They'll come back and we'll do the third one, which will be out towards the wingtip. So front plane, just click it to highlight it. Reference plane up here, again, plane again. Select the wingtip we want there. Automatically makes it perpendicular, and we're done. Come back to the frontal master, and this particular one is wing station 249. So now we'll rename that one wing station 249. And then we can save all that and we can hide it. Now what we want to do is we have all our wing stations, but we are also going to need another wing station at this location as well as this location. That way we can physically, never mind, we don't need that one. I remembered I had to do it a different way, I believe. Yep, I did it a different way. Okay, so we won't worry about that. So what we'll do now is to get our wing ribs locations in there, we want to come up here to curves and curve through XYZ point. And here in my documentation stuff, what I have is just the wing coordinate data. Here we want wing station 33. In this case, I'm just going to make it larger for the wing route. So wing station 33, see if I open this up, it's a TXT file. These have to be TXTs, and they have to be tab delimited, however you say it. So just make an Excel file with all of your information. Here's your X's, here's your Y's, here's your Z. You can also go on the internet and get all this information and put it in Excel and then just export it as a tab delimited file and TXT. And this gives you all your information here. Come over here to browse for it. We know wing coordinate data. Like I said, we wanted wing station 33. Do that, we can open it. Here you see it gives us all of our station data that was in that file. Here we have a nice little yellow airfoil curve, which is just perfect. One thing I did do that was not 100% scale is the very last point right here, 26. It's the very trailing edge. I added a 1/16 of an inch to each side of the chord line. So this will make an 1/8 inch thick trailing edge at full size. And I did this just so when you scale it down, it becomes a little bit sharper, but it's not so sharp to the point where it's completely unbuildable. So now that we have this in here and our yellow preview looks good, we can hit OK. And you see it draws you the nice little blue line. Unfortunately, the blue line, we really can't do anything with. It's just kind of like a reference thing right now. So what we want to do is you want to come up to your right plane, your front plane, and you want to sketch. And then you want to do convert entities. Click on that curve and then click the green check mark. And now you see we have a nice black line, which means that's something that we can do with. So what I do now is I come up here and just grab a line, make sure it's vertical, click, double click, come to the origin point here where the very beginning of our airfoil starts, click, draw a line, make sure it goes horizontal, which you see by the yellow box with the horizontal line in it, click, double click, and then trim entities. With trim, just select power trim because you can just click and hold with your left mouse button and you can see the little gray line. If there are lines there, it would be cutting them. Let go of it and it disappears. So for power trim, you just click and drag it across the lines you want to get rid of, and there you go. Click that one, and then this horizontal line, we're going to use that to mirror, so we want to make that a construction geometry or a center line. So highlight it, right click, come to this solid line to dash line with the arrows, and that changes them. Now it's a center line. Now drag it. Just come bring your arrow somewhere over here and click and hold your left mouse button, drag across, release, and now you see it selects all of that airfoil selection. Then mirror entities, and there we go. Now we have our wing station 33 airfoil, which we will use to scale for the wing station 0. Same thing. Now we want to copy this so we can put it on our right plane so we can scale it and put it on to use for our wing loft. So now you want to do the same thing. Just left click and hold, drag the box across the airfoil, then do edit, and then copy. And then we can go through and exit the sketch. Wing station 33 airfoil sketch reference is what I use because it's not the actual sketch that we're going to use. And then we just hide that one by right clicking and selecting hide. Curve 5 will be wing station 33. Get my fingers in the right spot on the keyboard. Airfoil curve. Do all that. And now here on the right plane, select that. We also want to sketch it. This curve here, we can right click and we can hide that original curve. Now that we're sketching on our right plane, just do edit and paste. And there you see we have our airfoil. Since these are symmetrical airfoils, you don't really have to worry about the rotation angle of it, because you see now the trailing edge is at the front and whatnot. So since it's symmetrical, we don't have to worry about making sure that one side is top or to the bottom. We can just rotate it however we want. So we're going to click and drag it to select everything. Then we're going to go to Tools, Sketch Tools, and then we are going to rotate it. And then the center of rotation, we want to be on either the leading edge or the trailing edge. Either one, it doesn't really matter. In this case, we'll select the leading edge. And we know it's at least 180 degrees out, so we'll do 180. There we go. And we know we want 4 degrees of incidence as well, so let's see what 184 degrees of incidence. Boom, there we go. Now we got the correct incidence angle and the rotation and the orientation of the airfoil. So now we can hit the green check button. And now we need to move it to where it works properly with the location of the wing sketch that we use for the root. So I'm going to come up here to solid bodies and the vertical stab outline cut, which is basically the entire fuselage at this point. I'm going to right click and hide that. Now with that done, I'm going to use the control and the arrow keys that helps just pan the view around without having to zoom out, zoom back in. But I'm going to do the same thing on the left click, drag across to select everything, back to Tools, then your Sketch Tools, and then you want to move it. And then move it, you want to select From and To. You want to come up here, and you want to select the point of this chord line, which is the center line of the chord. You want to select that one. We'll zoom back out a bit here, and then we'll zoom back in to our reference drawing to make sure that we get it back where it needs to be. So we're going to drag it to where that horizontal line highlights orange in this case, and then we're just going to move it back until we get to the point, and boom, we're going to left click, and now it is in its proper location along the wing root at the fuselage center line. But you see, this is how long the airfoil should be, and this is how long the actual airfoil is. So we're going to do a little bit of math. We're going to come to Smart Dimension, the airfoil length as it is now. Make sure you don't do it horizontally this way. You want to make sure it's parallel with the center line of the chord. And there we have that one. I'm going to bring out our calculator, and then we're going to come back up here to Evaluate, and then we're going to select Measure, and we're going to measure the chord line length that we want. Select that, and we see we have 130.3174 inches, and it's also right here. So with our calculator, we take that number, we divide it by the chord length that we actually have, 19.149, and we see we need to scale the dimension by 1.09373. So coming back into SolidWorks, I'll get rid of our Evaluate. Come back into the sketch. We're going to left click, drag the box over everything to reselect it. Going to come back to Tools, back to Sketch Tools, and then we're going to go to Scale. And Scale About, again, you want to select the center chord point at the trailing edge. And now we know from our calculator here 1.0937. So 1.0937 here in the parameters box. First, you got to get rid of this dimension. Otherwise, it won't let you scale it. So we'll get rid of that by clicking on the line, not the dimension. Exit it. Same thing here. We're going to back to Tools, Sketch Tools, Scale. Back that center line trailing edge chord point. Right there. 1.0937 is already in, and you see it's pretty much exactly where it needs to be. And we're going to hit the green check. And there we go. And that, for this sketch, is complete. So we'll exit the sketch. And now we're going to name this the wing root airfoil. I'm going to put WS0. at the leading edge. And there we go. And now we get to basically repeat the exact same thing for wing station 183 here. So we'll come back to features, double check the time. Oh, we still got a few more minutes. Come back to curves, curve through XYZ point. We'll browse for the file. Again, we want a text file. Here we want 183. Select open. There's our curve. Here you see I still have that 1/16 of an inch trailing edge. We'll do save or OK. And now we have that wing station 183 curve. We'll rename that one, if it will play nicely. Station 183 airfoil curve. Now on our front plane, we want to sketch once again. Select the curve, convert entities. The vertical line, not there. Coincident with the trailing edge, vertical line, back to the leading edge. There's that. Click once, then double click. Trim the entities to come across both. Right click for a center line, or in this case, change it to construction geometry. Drag and select it all. Mirror the entities. Drag, select it all again. Edit, copy it. Now we can exit that sketch. This is a wing station 183 airfoil reference sketch. That we can save them. And now on wing station 183, we want to sketch there. And then back to edit, and we want to paste it. Here you see it pasted it, and now it's like a totally different angle. Oddly enough, right? It's weird how that works. So we're going to drag it, select it all again, and then we're going to come to Tools, Sketch Tools, and where is it at? Rotate. Come back down to our middle here, select that. And based on our documentation here, this airfoil has 0 degrees of incidence. So we only need to rotate it 90 degrees. So we do the 90-degree rotation around that trailing edge, and boom, it's done. And we're pretty much where it should be, but not entirely where it should be. So based on the documentation, I know that this wing, this wing rib is 91.618 inches aft of the leading edge of this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight all of it, come to Tools, Sketch Tools, and we're going to go to Move. We're going to select the leading edge in this case, and then we're going to make it coincident with the leading edge of the wing root as closely as we possibly can. This time it's not going to highlight the orange line here on the center line because they're not on the same plane. So we're just going to get as close as we can. And there we go. And now what we're going to do is we're going to select all of that again. We're going to go back to Tools, Sketch Tools, and we're going to move it. But this time, instead of doing from and to, we're going to do XY. So XY, this is where that 91.618 inches is. And here we have Z and Y. And you can see I didn't have it perfectly where it needed to be, so we need to move it from and to again. So get it right there. Zoom back out. Perfect. Now we'll drag it, select it all. Tools, Sketch Tools, move again. And we'll do from that 91.618. We'll see if it moves it. Nope, it's the wrong direction. Delete that. Then 91.618. And boom, there we go. Now it moves it back, and we can hit green check mark. We can exit it. And then we can save it once again. And with that, we're pretty much out of time. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this video, and I'll get started finishing doing the other one that I messed up with the sound. So you guys have a good one, and we'll see you back here shortly.